Right.
It's just segments.
Hey, everybody, welcome to What You Need to Know. It is Monday. I am Sybil Wilkes, and it is a full house today. We have every Monday our social activist, Coy Malone. Hey, Coy.
Hey, Sybil, how are you?
Great, thank you. One of our Break the Glass, and he's always there, our funny man extraordinaire, Damon Williams. Back in the shy, are you, sir?
Yes, I am home for a little while.
For a minute.
Yeah.
And joining us for the very first time, one of my favorites, it is the amazing Griff. He is the co-host of Get Up Mornings. Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell, and he has a new toy, ladies and gentlemen, that he got this past week in their radiothon in honor of St. Jude Children's Hospital. Thank you so much, St. Jude's.
Yeah, y'all are very welcome. That's what you need to know. Simple, I love you.
Griff, I adore you, and I'm missing your and being in your presence every day, the way we were in the studio. But it is also a joy to connect with you every Tuesday when I am able to come on the Erica Campbell show and Get Up Mornings with Erica and Griff and TJ. Let us not forget TJ and V. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the What You Need to Know show. For those of you who don't know, we do this every Monday through Thursday at this time, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. And a lot of it is based on our What You Need to Know newsletter, 5 things that we think you need to know, including other items as well, but 5 news stories for sure, including a finance feature. We have social activism, thanks to Coy. We also have a COVID update every day, and we also have a look at politics in our nation across the country, and not just in Washington, D.C. And if you would like to subscribe to the What You Need to Know newsletter, please go to SybilWilkes.com. That's Sybil like the crazy girl, Wilkes like John Wilkes Booth. Yes, the given name from the folks. And give us your name and your email address, and we'll have that in your email box. As our friend Ahmed Gordon from Willie Moore says, it's at 6:31 every morning. And so that is what we'd like to do is aim for consistency. We also have health and wellness. We have a Black History Corner, HBCU Corner, and a little known Black History Fact, which a lot of these elements sound familiar to you. This is what we learned on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And so we have carried this forth into our newsletter, and the newsletter is absolutely free. So with all that being said, let's talk about what's happened since we put our little newsletter to bed today. And first thing, you guys, is that history has been made as the Senate has confirmed Deb Haaland. She is the Interior Secretary for the Biden cabinet, and she has made history. She is the first Native American cabinet secretary, and that is great. Congratulations to her. The vote was 51 to 40. Most Republicans voting against her, as you might imagine, several calling her views on public land use and fossil fuels extreme. She is a former congresswoman, and so she's been through this a time or two. 4 Republicans did vote for her, and surprisingly enough, one of them was Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Susan Collins of Maine, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, also amongst the Republicans who voted for her. So congratulations. And the Biden cabinet is really showing itself to be a representative of this country, no?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's completely inclusive. He has everything. And you know, when you started out saying history was made, I thought you was going to talk about Beyonce.
We were waiting for it.
She went straight in the Biden. I was like, what about the beehive?
Of course, yours is much more monumental, but
well, no, Beyonce's was pretty monumental, and that will be one that we'll remember for a very long time. Who was the first Native American cabinet member in a presidential cabinet? Maybe not. But
I forgot already.
I feel so dumb. I was just like, come on, Griff. She just told you, dog.
Deb.
Just said her name.
Deb Haaland, Haaland. So remember that, fellas and ladies, and thank you, Coy. Okay, now here's serious on the serious tip, you guys. Here's some names that we're never going to forget. I don't think we will. And this is involving the Derek Chauvin murder trial. in the case of the murder of George Floyd. As so happened, they had 7 jurors already seated on Friday when the word came down that the city of Minneapolis had settled the civil lawsuit with George Floyd's family for $27 million. So the timing of this is very curious, but it's also perhaps going to put this trial back some, because Derek Chauvin, the policeman who is on trial for the murder of George Floyd, his attorney has asked to consider delaying the proceedings and to talking to the jurors who have already been seated and question about their exposure to this news of the $27 million settlement. And they did, the Judge Cahill said that he would consider this, but they did also go on and they seated a couple more jurors as the day went on. So just some thoughts. I will just share with you, I was struck by the timing of this announcement. I don't know if they could have delayed it and perhaps waited till after the trial was over. Not to say they wouldn't get their money, but just, to delay it because this case is already underway. And obviously the news is critical to the seating of this jury. What do you think, Griff?
Sybil, number one, they found 12 people who never heard about George Floyd or didn't watch the news at all, they say, and now they might have to get another 12 who, if you didn't know about him before, you definitely heard about somebody getting some money this week, so are we being realistic with the jury man?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the line where you have some sort of realistic expectation? What do you think, Coy?
Once I heard that this settlement is happening, I'm wondering, is there going to be a trial? Is this a way for Chauvin's defense team to say, hey, listen, they settled, there is no more case, they have taken what they can get out of this, and let's just make it easy on everybody and not continue with this trial? Because how do you find people? Like, are they recruiting people that have just become naturalized citizens? Like,
absolutely.
2 days ago, they just got here, and now, yes, here you go, jury duty. That's my thought.
And not punish our client.
Right.
So that's a consideration when you kind of throw this out. What are your thoughts, Damon? I mean, we've been through this in Chicago. We know these stories about, settlements as well as trials. What do you think?
Well, I think George Floyd's death created a worldwide phenomenon. It was the first time that 18 countries all protested along with the United States. So it's a known fact worldwide. Secondly, if they think this settlement is going to sway the jury, that video is going to convict their client. But third of all, I got a brother who ain't really doing nothing. 27 million, I might put my knee on his neck.
No.
Wow.
That's what I'm here for, Griff.
You get the slow one, Damon. Like,
we were ready.
It's some Kirk Franklin church oil on this one, right? They give you some of this oil, dog. Like,
oh, Damon. Oh, Damon. So as we look into this second week of the trial, obviously they had a consideration. They did not start business last Monday when it was supposed to start. Remember, last Monday in this trial, they had the consideration of adding a second murder charge against him. Second and third degree murder charges have been added now against Derek Chauvin in the murder of George Floyd. And of course, that stopped it a little bit. Then they started the selection of the jury, and it's an interesting mix. They are going to recall the jurors. The questions will be asked about the settlement news. As you mentioned, how can you not hear this? 2 additional jurors selected today to serve. And now the 2 jurors, a white woman in her 50s and a black man in his 30s, will join the 7 others who were selected last week. And I don't think one of them has said that they have not seen the video, that they have not seen any of the news conversation about this. And this will be interesting to see how this all breaks out. But there is a combination of Black, white, and Hispanic jurors on this, biracial as well as Black on this jury. Yeah.
A white woman in her 50s and a Black man in his 30s. That sounds like a couple in Minnesota.
Well, yeah, it's every other house.
They're definitely getting his peers right now.
Yeah.
Right.
right. And that was interesting because people were talking about having a jury of one's peers, and some people were talking about George Floyd's peers, and actually, we know that it's supposed to be the peers of Derek Chauvin, but it is interesting to see how people are looking at this trial. Coy, this is something that we've been talking about a lot, as along with George Floyd, but certainly this past week, when all charges were dropped against Kenneth Walker, also known as Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, or some people say her fiance. Kenneth Walker, who was at her side when the police, Louisville Metro Police Department, rammed into her apartment trying to execute a no-knock warrant that resulted in Breonna Taylor's murder there. The charges were dropped permanently last week against Kenneth Walker, and they cannot be brought up again. And now, the day before the anniversary of her death, and not anniversary, but as we remember her death, we know that he has filed a lawsuit, and a $10 million lawsuit against the officers, saying that they violated his Fourth Amendment rights when they executed the search warrant last March. Damon, what do you think?
That whole situation, it's all bogus, every part of it. And I think any means we can have legally to address this situation and penalize, and also try to prevent this from happening again, they should take it to the fullest extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because and as we know, with the whole Breonna Taylor situation and what's happened with the grand jury and all of that, right, Griff and Coy, we know that we may never see that case.
Breonna Taylor, my wife is born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. That's how they say it, Louisville. Everybody else say Louisville, but they pronounce it Louisville. And at her first cousin's wedding, in a white dress outside, beautiful wedding, she lifted her dress, just the top part, and she had an 8x10 of Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor dated one of their sons for 2.5 years. So they were actually, my wife's family was actually the frontline people pushing what was happening in Louisiana. I remember when she told me, then I remembered the gap between when it got national. So, Breonna, the whole Breonna Taylor thing is proof that they and I say they loosely, but there's a number of, with us only being 13% of the country, that's roughly around 48, 49 million African Americans in the United States. There is a majority of people, more than the people of color in America, who have bad intentions for us.
Yeah.
They have awful intentions for a Black man in America. And if we didn't learn anything from the summer of 2020, we learned that there's a large amount of people that aren't for our good like we thought it was, and they kind of, we going over the same thing that our parents went through. That, when you look at the story, the Judas and the Messiah and the Judas, or when y'all was in Chicago. So being from Cali, I only knew about the Black Panthers from Oakland, and you know what I'm saying?
We're going to talk about that movie, by the way, coming up in entertainment.
That means, Coy, that means I'm jumping ship.
Same. I'm from California too, so we jump in the same ship. Okay.
Speaking of Black men and I guess moving along to relationships, talking about what's trending. What's trending is the story, and you've already alluded to this, Griff, is the Kirk Franklin situation. He has the Grammy Award winning gospel music legend has apologized after his son, Kerrion Franklin, leaked a recording of an argument between the two that included threats against his son. And so let us hear a little bit of, hold on, Griff, we're going to listen to a little bit of this conversation.
Okay, if you think I'm ready for this, let me say it like this. When your bitch ass starts disrespecting, you need to get your skinny motherfucking ass back out the goddamn way before I put my foot in your ass. Because I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. Shut the fuck up. I'm old. What's up? I will break your neck, nigga. Don't you ever disrespect me. I did it. He just hung up the phone. I'll break your neck. Is that a threat?
All right, let's get right to it. Two men, fathers of sons. Let's hear your take on this.
I have. It's Damon, you go ahead and go, because it's funny because Damon and I have talked about our kids before and understand the wayward child. But Damon, you go ahead and represent the Shy real quick. I'm right behind you.
Well, I'll take my personal experience out of it because my son is magnificent, and there's no way I could ever talk to him like that. I mean, I would never even have that sentiment. But Black parents, since the beginning of time, have had the most egregious threats of violence toward our kids to keep them in line. Everybody's mom. I had an aunt that said she would beat the cowboy stew out of us. Now, I don't even know what the hell a cowboy stew is. If I didn't eat it, how you gonna beat it out of me? So I mean, we understand that the vernacular and the sentiment, but he's estranged from his son, so they have a very tumultuous relationship.
Right.
For one. For two, it's a 33-year-old man. So when you say I'm talking to my son, that's you're talking to that. People are looking at it like you don't talk to your kids like that. This is a grown man, but still, words hurt and words matter. I remember my stepdad came to visit me, and as an adult. And he said something like to his brother, my Uncle Hubert, he said, and Damon always was a weird kid. And I was like, what? And I'm in my 40s, and I still feel that when I say it out loud. I'm like, he thought I was a weirdo all the time. So you have to watch how you speak, because as a parent and an authoritarian and a role model in your kid's life, your words are even more detrimental than some of physical action. So that's how I felt about it. I mean, he went too far. But we don't know the backstory on how their conversation has gone leading up to that point.
Right.
But like I said, my son is cool, and I would never talk to him like that.
Your son is great. You're absolutely right. Griff, what do you think?
Well, number one, your one stepfather, my dad been married 5 times and my mom been married 9 times. So I'm a professional stepchild. The worst thing growing up hearing from all those adults that I barely knew was, this is my son Damon and my daughter Coy and my stepson Griff. And I was always like, you married into the family. You the step husband. Like, what is but I would like to say I have 3 sons. I raised 5 kids. 3 of them have my last name, and I just never said step. I don't believe it's a step family or a blended family, or it's family, and family go through. And one of my sons took me through from when he was 12 till he was probably 22. And at one point of him growing up, I said, man, 4 out of 5 ain't bad, dog. I'm not going to pretend that I'm disrespecting your mom, that I'm disrespecting you, because then if 3 kids ran away from home, then you have to start saying, what am I doing at the house that nobody want to stay here? But when it's just you and no one else is, we welcome you back, and then you dip again. I start asking him, the mega bus will take you to Albuquerque. You running away too close, dog. Like, go far, dog. $10. I gave you some money.
Run.
Very seriously, though, we didn't hear the other part, but think of it like this. Kirk Franklin is one of the consistent lovers of Jesus that you could think of. If you thought of a man in your head that wasn't a pastor and said, who else loved Jesus the most? Kirk Franklin is in your top 10 on the whole planet. The crime is, what did a human being say to Kirk Franklin that put him on 1,000 from what we heard? You know what I'm saying? I've hosted and did the audience warm up for Sunday's Best 7-8 seasons in a row. I've been with Kirk. He is such a mild-mannered guy. Like I've never seen him. I had to send him a funny text because I was like, man, so you are a man. That's
you're human.
Yeah, and I told him, don't be so hard on yourself. His whole career, he's been very transparent about having an addiction to porn, being a womanizer, lying, and that's actually why we love Kirk Franklin, because he's always kept it real with us. So I just told him, don't be so hard on yourself.
Hey, Griff, and don't be so hard on yourself, because 4 out of 5 is a good ratio. That's the same ratio of dentists surveyed for Trident gum.
I just told me and Sybil was talking. 4 out of 5 dentists who chew gum recommend dentists who chew gum.
Balances out.
Right?
Coy, this reference might be over your head, Coy, because you might not remember these old commercials.
That was Trident gum, though. You're right. You're absolutely right.
I would say that, who hasn't been cursed out by a Christian parent? Because I would say 4 out of 5 people have. I've been cursed out.
I gotta say I'm one. I've not been cursed out by my Christian mama.
I have.
Man.
No,
it has happened.
Never happened.
It's
It's time for what you need to
Sybil, ever in your whole life?
Ever in my whole life.
Jesus.
I didn't even do anything, and I got cursed out. But hey,
Sybil, you know what? You act like you never been cussed out by me.
See, that's the answer. And look, my son went to the same school Sybil went to, so there it goes to show you don't have to cuss your kids out to make good people.
How about that?
Thank you, Reverend Damon. Thank you, sir.
Don't you think gospel's gone too far? You can kiss my mother.
It is time to take a look at our newsletter, and this is related to the whole Breonna Taylor thing, and it just boggles the mind, because we have been talking about, you guys, how the Republicans in the state Senate and the state houses of these 20-something, now 30-something states run by Republicans, they are making it more difficult for people in terms of voting, right? We've talked about that in Georgia and Florida and what have you. As you guys know, in Georgia, but here's the thing. In Kentucky, a bill introduced by the Republican Senator Danny Carroll would make it a crime to provoke an officer verbally to the point that he would be provoked into a violent response.
Wow.
He is a former police officer, and his bill states a person is guilty of disorderly conduct, which is a Class B misdemeanor, with a penalty of up to 90 days in prison if she or he accosts, assaults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer with offensive or derisive words. The responding Democrat in the Senate, his name is Senator Gerald Neal, represents the majority Black district in West Louisville. Okay, so we're talking about the Louisville Metro Police Department, and Breonna Taylor said he was insulted by the bill. And he said there are laws already in place to deal with violent rioters, and other Republicans and those against the bill pointed out this could harm efforts to bring this city some sort of peace and closure in this case. It just boggles the mind how they are still trying to bring about to show us even more how they are just against the efforts of people who are, for the most part, are protesting, quietly, not in a violent sense. And this makes it seem so subjective, you guys,
right?
Because what is derisive? What is offensive? And so if you're looking for something to call people down on, it, well, it was offensive to me. And so off to jail you go, and we're gonna bring charges against you, right?
Police do this during traffic stops. I've asked the police officer, hey, can you please explain to me what's going on? And the first thing they want to say is, are you getting smart with me? Why are you talking to me like that?
Yep.
And I could get locked up for that. I'm asking a question.
Yeah. And think about the young lady. Remember the young lady who just stood there in front of the line of police there, and she just stood. That could be offensive to them.
I don't even know what to say because I have a different voice. So people are always thinking I'm yelling but I'm not. So what if I'm with Coy? What if I say, what did you say? And he said, oh, you not going, so if Coy said a police officer did that to her and she's a young lady, the cop already thinking he big, he trying to loud talk me. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't start recognizing what the South is, if we don't start recognizing that if you still, and I love these cities, and Damon, we performed in them before hundreds of times, but why are Black people still in Mississippi? Why are Black people still in states where they can take you out of your home and the whole town better shut up about it? Like, why is this happening in 2021? So
Well, the answer to that is, why are the people still in power that are in power in Mississippi with all those Black people there? So I think the vote and organizing and people like Coy can try to make a change with that. But when it comes to this topic specifically, when you say to me that in this country, in the laws and Constitution, there's an inalienable right to freedom of speech, you cannot limit or charge me for something I said. And if we're going to compromise on this law, the law should be you can say anything you want to a police officer as long as you don't talk about his mom.
That should be in the bill.
They gonna get their feelings way hurt by us because your mama, I ain't even go.
It just sounds like a bunch of people that were, like we always say, picked on in school, and now they're police officers. Can you imagine them bringing somebody into court and the judge says, well, sir, what are the charges? He said something to me and I ain't like it.
He was mean to me.
He was mean to me.
He hurt my feelings.
Yeah. He talked about my mama.
I'm butthurt, Your Honor. That's all.
He said my shoes is ugly and my car don't go that fast.
Where's the line? Where's the line here? You know, it is and you know what, Damon, you said something earlier talking about Kirk, and yes, words do hurt, but this is a case where, you know, sticks and stones really does apply here, because you're talking about the words that people say to the policeman, but what about the more than 20 bullets that went into Breonna Taylor's house and the 6 that killed her? Not to mention
the way they talk to us. That's the other thing. Police officers come up to your car with such an authoritative stance and a disregard for your humanity that, you know, and you were supposed to just take it. And just because they have the authority to take away your freedom, then you have to absorb some of that abuse and that verbal abuse that they inflict on people. Because I've had some police officers talk to me like I was trash, you know, for nothing, you know, even though I knew who did it, I didn't. No.
Right. Yeah.
I feel I've been in that, dog. Everybody did, and they was like, "Let me see your ID." For what? For stand? No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, I mean, they do that when you're in a car, you're riding with someone who may have been pulled over, and they want to see your ID. It's like, for what? And you're under arrest. You smarten off to me.
Yeah, I told that happened to me one time. After
why am I not surprised, Coy?
I wasn't trying to know. It was after my cousin's bachelorette party, and the officer looked at the car for everybody's ID, and I said, "Listen, I'm not doing that, and you can let me out of this car. I will walk home from here." And I got out of the car, and I left. I said, "This is not going to be." Well,
to the officers of defense, a big black dildo does look like a billy club. So if you're leaving a bachelorette party he had a reason to be still threatened.
Well, what is in your belt, big fella? I got a flashlight too.
Oh, golly. Damon, unfortunately, it was another violent weekend in the city of Chicago.
Man, I saw that video live and my stomach still hurt. It was tough to watch. And it's so funny because when I think of Chicago, I think of you too, like first. Like, I wonder if Damon know where this place, like, it's so like Damon and Sybil, y'all both so Chicago to me. When I, if anything jump off in the shot, I can call either one of y'all and know where to go be safe, where to go get some food, where to go stay. Like, that broke me up, Damon. I ain't even know what to say, man.
Man, and it's funny that it's not funny, but it's crazy that this came up in the way it happened. The fact that it happened and the fact that I have a comedian that's based in Memphis, but he's from Chicago. His name Ambrose Jones. Yeah. He's coming to town this weekend. Okay. He called me yesterday because he was thinking about canceling because 2 of his cousins were there and got shot. So that's how close the degree of separation is. And he was like, I think I want to cancel because I don't want to promote, the fact that, because I was hoping that they was coming out to support the show. Sure. And I told him, well, if you want to postpone it, that's fine. Especially, I don't think I want them to come. Right. So, not just because, of what happened, but it just touched me directly, bro. Like you say, it was directly touching me. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but, he's still coming. But I don't know how his people were involved, but it's that close in separation as far as degrees go. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And who are bringing these guns to a good time? Where are these guns coming from in the city? And I'm talking about not just this incident, but when you got carjackers being arrested and they 12 and 13 years old and they have guns. Like when we grew up, our whole gang had 2 guns, right? So if the gun guy didn't show up, we didn't have a gun. We had to fight with our fist. So I mean, I ain't no, but the gun guy was on punishment. He couldn't come out. There was no guns at the fight. So where are all these 12 and 13-year-olds getting these guns? And it's been rumored and suggested that occasionally you can go in the alley and somebody is dropping off a crate of guns just because it's a plan to keep us armed and violent toward each other. I mean, so. Chicago's not, we might be in the lead, but we're not the only city. And it's not a coincidence that this gun violence is taking place on the magnitude that it is around the country. I really believe it's a conspiracy and it's a planned action. Now, that doesn't excuse the persons in this incident or any of the violence that take place in our community, but we like to label it as black on black crime when crime is crime. And when white people inflict murder and harm to each other, we don't call it white on white or Hispanic on Hispanic. It's crime. So, and the root cause of crime is some of the social ills that we suffer from. So, Chicago makes the headlines, but all of this is coming from a place where I think it's actually been intentional.
This is, and talking about this party and having a good time, this has been described as a pop-up party that took place at a business on the south side of Chicago. I think it was like 67th and South Chicago Avenue. And they were saying that the young woman who was shot and killed, 31 years old, had recently moved to Texas to get away from the violence, came to Chicago to visit her family, and got caught up in this madness. She was shot 3 times, once in the head, and found outside of the building. A 39-year-old man was also killed. He was found dead inside of a back room there. And they said there was a disturbance among several patrons. Gunfire erupted, striking multiple people. They say that they called this a pop-up because they saw that this was a business, but there was also a bar that was set up in balloons and things like that. They say that it may have formerly been used as a lounge, but now serves as an event space for these pop-up parties. And the mayor, of course, had tweeted out and they were looking for answers regarding this. Happened about 4:00 in the morning, Sunday morning, as we know. But over the weekend, over 30 people were shot. and this was 15 at this particular event. But as you say, Damon, this is not just germane to Chicago. It is not just there. Any one of our hometown cities can talk about these things. And as you mentioned, there are a great deal of suspicions about how people get these guns and how do they keep getting it. You know, when the guns are taken away from them, and sometimes they're back out on the street, and mysteriously a cache of guns appears, and people are able to do that.
Especially in a city that for decades we had a ban on handguns, so you couldn't even legally purchase guns in Chicago.
Yeah, I never understood that.
Yeah.
So for that many guns, for that to be available, readily available, and I'm not talking about homeowners who are protecting their property.
Right.
I'm not talking about the average citizen who just wants to, keep their family safe. I'm talking about teenagers who have nothing else to do and they can find guns. Like, you could literally get a gun for $75, $100 on the streets of Chicago any given day of the week, and that is the scary part, and that makes it feel almost hopeless, because at 12 and 13, we all did some mischievous things. I mean, to what extent it varies, but to have the power of a handgun,
I had no gun growing up, homie. I think we was rapping.
Right, and to be raised on
I was riding bikes.
These video games that pound in, the violence, like the Grand Theft Autos and the movies that the kids are, and the music, it's a dangerous mix altogether.
And hormones and all of these other things that are going inside of their body, and just forget about the external events and opportunities that are there.
Now, at this pop-up, these are grown people, so we don't want to, equate the two. But if you look at the video, at one of the videos, as the shooting was taking place, there was another guy that was in the video. As he was ducking and hiding, he was pulling out his gun. They found 4 guns at the scene afterwards.
Immediately, yeah.
So and who knows if those were the weapons in use. It's crazy how many guns are in this city and in the inner city around the country. That's the major issue. Where are the guns coming from?
It just makes you think, like, what are the parameters that people think? What is your limit when it comes to conflict resolution? When has it turned from having an argument to, fist fighting used to be the thing. Now the answer and the solution is to shoot somebody? Are you serious? Somebody that's not even threatening your life in that sense. I can almost understand if somebody shot once and then now you're shooting back to protect yourself at that point. But when does that become the end all tell all solution? Like, what is the parameter that these people are thinking these days?
But do they have parameters, Coy?
Right. It doesn't look like it.
And it's crazy now, because if you say fist fight, if you win the fight, they still gonna shoot you.
I was about to make
so now you can't even have hands. You know what I'm saying? If you get hands, you put hands on somebody, if they're attacking you or whatever the conflict is. If you win the fight, you still got to watch your back, because the next resolve is they're gonna try to kill you. So it's crazy. It seems like you just got to stay in the house. First of all, you don't go to a unlicensed pop-up, to raise boom boom room, to a speakeasy. You go places that are secured and above board to avoid some of these circumstances. But you could be anywhere in Chicago. You could be at the person who was a victim's funeral, and then they'll come shoot up the funeral. So
and that was the
they
most
was doing that in Cali too.
Yeah.
So
Coy, let's stay with you and let's talk about your social justice story today, in which a 63-year-old Black man has been exonerated in the state of Georgia. New investigation proves a lack of evidence, but in the meantime, this case has been going on since 1981. This is 2021, and this man has now been exonerated. Tell us about Terry Talley.
Yes, a 63-year-old Black man who was released from Dooley State Prison, and that's down in LaGrange, Georgia. He was accused of 4 separate sexual assaults, wrongfully accused. There was no evidence linking him to these crimes. Witnesses that were questioned previously ID'd other persons, including the neighbors in the area where one of the particular crimes occurred. They only identified him as a man that they saw looking for yard work in the area. Several complaints came from college students where he worked on the campus. They also ID'd someone else. There was a person of interest in the case who was not questioned, was not brought up to be ID'd in the lineup or anything like that. There were several things that happened with the police in LaGrange who pretty much fabricated and bolstered parts of the testimony to give these witnesses credibility. One of the persons that was actually assaulted, she was accosted from behind, so she couldn't identify the person. But she said in her testimony,
but she said it was Damon.
She said, what she said was even crazier. She said the person that attacked her had a Negro smell,
a medium build and good diction.
And good diction. And this was bolstered, and the defense basically said that there was no reason to question her credibility. So this man was.
So let me move fast forward a little bit, Coy, because we're going to run out of time in this segment. But they have agreed to check the DNA, examine his case in 2004. In 2009, they filed a motion to test the DNA. The results in 2009 excluded him.
Yes. Making him a free
12
person,
years ago, 12 years ago, they excluded him from the sample. And in 2017, they reopened the investigation. Almost 10 years later, they reopened the investigation.
With the GBI.
The system is
now black people do smell like certain things. Now
Irish Spring.
In the 80s, black man smelled like gray flannel and polo cologne. Maybe some air mist around 84 or so.
Thank you for taking us through the sense of black man.
I'm not mad at the statement. I'm so taken back by
you can't forget the Jovan Musk.
I know.
And the Lagerfeld.
I guess I gotta go shopping at Ross or something to see what these smell.
You have to go back a ways, yeah.
They're all in Ross too, right next to you.
Absolutely.
Great flannel, polo, Lagerfeld.
and they're not behind a drawer with a lock on it or anything.
No,
they're just
you
free
can
for the
steal
take.
them.
They don't claim it for sure.
So, okay, before we go to the next question, we have our question of the day. What's up, family? Sybil, Griff, Damon, how y'all doing?
Akintunde.
How are you, Akintunde? We love you.
Yes, sir.
Another one of those great brothers. Loved it. And Akintunde, come and join us one day. We'd love to have you. You guys, before we move any more through this show, we also have a question of the day. Every day we ask you a question. And of course, folks are starting to get their stimulus checks in the mail, or I'm sorry, in their bank accounts right now. They haven't come to the mail yet. Some of the folks have already reported over the weekend they got the $1,400 stimulus checks for a single adult, and then more if you have children and what have you. It could be up to like $5,600. So we're asking people, and necessarily those who I'm talking to, as well as those who are watching us today, what are you going to do with your stimulus money?
I'm still waiting for my $600 from the second time. Like, I ain't got my money, and I'm sick of all these TikToks and got my stimulus check. I ain't getting none, so I'm feeling away, and I'm on the little dumb website irs.gov.
Right?
Like, where is my y'all?
Right?
You need to press sus. That's what the kids call it. Just press sus for suspect. You ain't get your money yet. Click on sus.
And you got to give them, Damon, you got to give them your name, your address, your social security number, all of that stuff. And then they say, not processed yet.
Or they say, we can't find your name or nothing, or you're not getting one. Hang up.
Right.
And that's
even on the phone. How you hang up on me?
That's the category I fell into. Didn't get one. I've gotten none of the stimulus from day one. I don't know if it's because I make enough or because I owe enough to the government. But I do know that a lot of parents who have stimulus age children ain't sending them back to school because they want them to live so they can get that check. So they was like, you're not gonna go out here and risk that run until I get that stimulus. They got these kids in bubble wrap trying to keep them home. But like I said,
the kids is at home just popping themselves, David.
Right.
Hey, stop doing that. I will, Mom. I got the one done.
Well, it is also
Coy, what about you?
It's rumored that, crabs are in fear for their lives because their legs are going to be in danger once people cash these stimulus checks.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as for me, it's really not going to do much for me. I have no kids, so there's nothing really to look forward to. It's barely going to pay rent.
But it will be used for rent because a lot of people, I'm telling you, I'm hearing stories of how there are plans to make this money multiply, like going to buy a brick of a drug. This
coming from the same
that's not enough.
That was in Susu's over the summer last year. This coming from the same people that needed you to come in as a fire so she could turn into a water, and then you was almost at it. And that's what you get, $46.
It's not. Please
and it's
do
funny,
not get scammed.
You know what? When we're talking about all these things like the fragrances and all the references that Coy is not getting that we're speaking of, I think that's how Lionel Richie is living every day. He got a 30-year-old girlfriend.
He go in the kitchen and go all night long. She go, what are you talking about, Lionel? Good morning. It's not all night.
And you know what? It goes on his TV set too. You can imagine between the girlfriend and the young people that he works with on American Idol, the same thing.
Yeah,
nobody won't say out loud. Lionel Richie looked like Simba Mama from the cartoon. Every time he come on, I'll be like, look at Nala. Look at Nala Richie.
Nala Richie.
And we love Lionel.
Hold on, Damon. And then in the Grammys yesterday, for everybody that died and passed last year, Lionel Richie did Kenny Rogers. I said, well, if that ain't the face doctor saying, well, look at y'all together. Simba. Did they get
a two-for plan? Is that what you're saying about Lionel?
Man, you know what I love about that? My personal Lionel Richie story, and I want to hear all yours one day, Sybil, is he was at a station I was at in Atlanta, and off air, we was like, yeah, man, so what do you, he said, man, I get so many checks from the 70s.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. I can't even open all of them to get this money. And I was like, damn, Simba, this is all. Everywhere you look, Simba.
As far as the eye can see. Oh, golly. Oh, golly.
Wow.
Too funny. So we will ask people if, I guess they're not responding. Maybe they don't want us to know what they are doing with.
Somebody said, don't be the stimulus police. Let people be great.
Agreed. But she's definitely right about that seafood.
Let me use one of your kids in that case.
Yeah, you know them crab legs was running off the shelves. And then they shut down when they took the 600 back from the unemployment. Everybody went back to dark meat chicken, thighs and drumettes. The seafood man was over there like the Maytag man.
Yes. We are already talking entertainment, so we'll continue on that vein. And did you all watch the Grammys last night? It was a pretty colorful event. Did anybody watch?
I've known
you did, Damon?
I've known Trevor Noah for about 14 years now, and I'm real happy for him. I love his energy and I love his perspective. I was so, and I love hip hop. On the way here, I was just listening to the Loonies and Tupac and Biggie just now in my car, and I was so vulgared out by B and Megan Thee Stallion. I really sat in my living room and was like, "Oh my God!" It's still on, and I couldn't. But overall, my favorite thing. That new song with Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
And the way when my auntie texted me and said, "Oh my God, he is killing a genre of fun and he know it." Yeah. And I'm so happy for Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. I love that part. And shout out to Beyonce, who everybody thinks she got the most Grammys. She has the most Grammys as a performer. Is a conductor, and even Quincy Jones might have more than her, but they're not performers. They never perform.
Right, absolutely, for performing only. Damon, what did you think?
I thought it was nicely handled.
I know you had a rough travel day yesterday, so I'm just wondering if you were able to stay up and watch.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it too. It was, the performances is what made it for me. It was performance heavy, and and so I got to see some artists that I wasn't really familiar with. I was really proud of the baby because
I was too.
Oh,
coming where he's coming from, for him to incorporate Anthony Hamilton, and then his background singers dressed as judges, considering he's had a past running with the law. Lil Baby, and these are people that are going to carry up for the genre. His song is very message oriented. I was impressed by that. Beyonce doing her thing with the 28 Grammys. I was happy that Jay-Z got up off his seat and helped her up and down the steps. I was perplexed by his hairstyle. But I
was too. I thought that was just me. I'm glad.
Why do his hair look like a bag of penises?
I'm sure there's some cultural reference to it. But
when you're a billionaire, I guess you can do whatever you want.
When you're a billionaire, if you want to be a cockhead, that's
at that point, who cares?
Oh dear God! But that was exactly what I thought it was too, Griff. I'm with you.
I like Sideshow Bob and The Simpsons too, but this is ridiculous.
I thought that the moments that were just so powerful was with Lil Baby and Tamika Mallory, who was there during the performance and gave her speech and talked about the state of emergency and how it just had been a hell of a year and hell for over 400 years, and calling on the Biden administration to get busy and to do that. Killer Mike there as well, and this is a young woman that I've enjoyed her work for a long time, and now she's getting the attention that she deserves, and that is country artist Mickey Guyton. She is going to be the first Black woman to host the CMAs, I believe, coming up very soon, and so that was really good. And of course, her.
Yes.
How can you not be happy for her, man? Like, just what a voice, she like a real gypsy, free, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she never got a Grammy, she still would have been doing concerts, and like she just love and the art. She's a creative for real.
Yeah.
And she's a very accomplished guitarist too, and that's really dope. I enjoyed even some of the goofy stuff, like the sisters from Haim, or Haim, however you pronounce it. Because they were up there doing that thing, man. The bass player was doing her little funky Mick Jagger walk. It was really a good show. It was a really good show. Yeah.
I thought that was the best Grammys I've seen in a very long time, or maybe even ever. I'm not.
That's a
they
lot.
should keep this format after COVID.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. And how cool was it with Beyonce, setting her record and her daughter getting her first Grammy that day as well.
The whole family got a Grammy. Jay-Z wrote her lyrics for Savage. He got one. B got 3. Blue got 1. Like, I mean, he's not.
But those other 2 kids were like an afterthought. So that was kind of awesome. I was like, if she don't mention them other 2 kids, because she's like, and my daughter this, and my daughter that. Oh, and my other 2. I was like,
all my kids.
You know what, Damon? I'm with you because I was like, "Ooh, is she gonna mention certain?"
It was awkward.
Yeah.
But Beehive, beware. I'm not saying anything wrong.
Hey, you guys, I want to talk about.
They will.
I want to talk about you 2 comedians because I'm such a fan of both of yours, as you know. But you guys and the fraternity of comedians, and I'm not excluding the women, but I'm just talking about just the brotherhood, if you will, that you guys have, and how far back do you 2 go, Damon?
Wow, me and Griff go way back. It's over 20 years. Yeah, it's over 20 years.
I met Damon probably in August of '96. When
I knew Griff would remember. It was a Thursday. And
No. You got to remember. So in April of '96, I came to Detroit. I'm from Cali, born and raised, but I'm actually a DC comedian. I started with Joe Claire and Dom, and I started with all of them. So when I went to Detroit for the first time, the Detroit people take you to Chicago and Canada. So I met Damon there, but going back and forth between California. And so, Damon was always a big comedian. I'm 26 years, April 14th. So I've known Damon my whole career, like, you know what I'm saying? And I was saying before we started that he's so consistent. He's such a blessing to the fraternity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we comedians and comics and we funny acting, we know, but you know what I'm saying? But Damon ain't never been, he been a solid dude. He'll take you to the side and mentor you and help you. But then Damon, what nobody won't say out loud, but I will, Damon will get you some bread. Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. And Damon, you're about to do that Wednesday, aren't you?
Yeah, I started this open mic situation like I did over 28 years ago. At all jokes aside, I'm bringing it back on Wednesday nights to try to discover the next wave of comics and give comics a platform. But I'll tell you this before we go any further. I was selected to do a award show in Atlanta, and it was called the Thug Awards. But the Thug was a positive acronym, and they had me hosting, and they had Griff co-hosting. And they had all these Atlanta rappers that I had no idea who they were. And I came all suited and booted. And if Griff wasn't there to pronounce the names properly, and he had my back on that occasion so strong, man, I would have failed that night. I promise you, to this day, I'll never forget those Thug Awards when you looked out for me, bro. Believe me. You covered for me, believe me.
That is so cool.
But Wednesday nights is the new. I'm trying to find the next wave, because on Wednesday night, at all jokes aside, and Thursday through Sunday, the club called TNT Comedy Hook is where I found where D-Ray got his start, and Leron Rogers and Marcus Combs. These are people that are all these cats, So I want to help the next wave, and then give me a place to go where there's no pressure on me to be performing. I'm hosting. I'm creating. You know how it is when I'm hosting the mic, man. So. Every Wednesday, I'm calling it $10 Wednesday. But on the first Wednesday of the month, it's not my night. I'm there, but the first Wednesday is Whitewash Wednesdays. And Whitewash is my way to find the white comedians. I only want white comics. There's been a Negro night, a Chocolate Sunday, a Black comedy night in every comedy club around the country, mainstream. Nobody said a word. But when I said I'm doing a whitewash comedy, it got feedback. So we still gonna do it with them. And I got a guy named Zach O'Ryan hosting.
Cool.
That's good.
And maybe you'll give a little break to a guy named Gary something or other. I don't know.
That's an inside joke. I hope he shows up.
Before we go, you guys, I want to share with you our daily inspiration, and it is from Yogi's Jewels. Identify your feelings and learn how to deal with them, and try therapy. So identify your feelings and learn how to deal with them. Try therapy. Would also like to invite everybody to join the Salute Her Awards. They're streaming on Sunday, March 21st. Oh, happy birthday, J. Anthony Brown. Go to saluteher.com for more information. Some of the incredible honorees are Cynthia Erivo and Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. That is the young woman behind one of the vaccines there, as well as Pinky from Slutty Vegan.
Yeah,
and other people. And the great Melanie Campbell is also, and Latasha Brown are being saluted. And of course, our girl Lonnie Love is hosting.
Wow.
That is saluteher.com, and it's Sunday, March 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all so much. It's been so much fun. I really appreciate you. Griff, please come back again.
Always. I love you, Coy. It's very nice meeting you, Damon.
Nice
Whenever. And Jay Bell told me he was at your spot last weekend, and thank you.
All good.
And I will see you in about 12 hours, Griff.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to you in about 12 hours. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Please take a look at our video, and we will see you all tomorrow.
He can tell you about their first dance, but he can't remember my name. I'm his daughter.
Half of all black families are impacted by Alzheimer's, but we don't know why. At HSC, we are investing in a new research study to find solutions for your family. To join the research study, visit blackalzbrainstudy.com or call 817-735-2963.